The snow had started falling early that December morning. IT wasn't heavy yet, just a soft, gentle drift that kissed the rooftops and glimmered against the Christmas lights. Inside the Williams home, the smell of cinnamon rolls filled the air, and the soft sound of Nat King Cole played from the kitchen speaker. Emma Williams was humming along, wearing her red apron, preparing her famous pecan pie, the same one she'd baked every Christmas for the past 8 years of her marriage to Daniel. Christmas, for Emma, wasn't just a holiday. It was a ritual of love, family, and forgiveness. The one time of the year when the whole world seemed to slow down just enough to feel warm again. She glanced at the clock. Daniel was late. He had said he'd be home early today. It was his turn to pick up the Christmas tree and the wine. At 7 p.m. sharp, the door opened. Daniel walked in, brushing the snow off his jacket. He looked nervous, his usual calm demeanor replaced by something uncertain. "Hey, sweetheart," he said softly, setting the bags down. Emma smiled. "You're late, Mr. Williams. I thought the snow kidnapped you." He chuckled weakly. "Yeah, traffic was bad." He hesitated before adding, "Listen, there's something I need to tell you." Emma frowned, wiping her hands on a towel. "Okay, what's wrong?" Daniel swallowed hard. His voice trembled slightly, the way it did when he was about to say something serious. My ex, Claire, is coming to Christmas dinner this year." The silence hit like a cold gust through the open door. Emma froze. The only sound was the faint ticking of the kitchen clock. "What did you just say?" Daniel cleared his throat. "Claire. She's back in town. Her mom passed away last month, and she doesn't really have anyone around. I thought maybe, we could invite her just for Christmas dinner. She's going through a lot." Emma blinked slowly, processing his words. His ex, the woman he once almost married, was going to sit at their Christmas table. Her voice came out cold and sharp. "Daniel, are you seriously asking me to have your ex over for Christmas dinner? In our home?" Daniel sighed. It's not like that. It's just out of kindness. You know how I am. I can't just ignore someone in pain." She looked at him, searching his face for the man she trusted. "Kindness is one thing, Daniel. Inviting your ex into our marriage is another." He took a deep breath, his tone softening. "It's just one evening. Please. She's alone. I thought you, of all people, would understand that." Emma's lips pressed into a thin line. "You thought wrong." That night, Emma lay awake beside him, staring at the ceiling. She could hear his slow breathing. He was already asleep, but her mind refused to rest. A wave of questions flooded her thoughts. Why now? Why her? And why didn't he even ask first? He just told her. She turned to her side, staring at the faint glow of the Christmas lights outside their window. For the first time in years, the twinkle didn't feel comforting. It felt mocking. The next morning, she called her sister, Julia. Julia lived across town, blunt, fiery, and protective to a fault. When Emma told her the news, Julia almost dropped her coffee. "He what?" she yelled through the phone. "He invited his ex? To your Christmas dinner? Is he out of his mind?" Emma sighed, leaning against the kitchen counter. "He says she's going through a hard time, that it's just kindness." "Kindness?" Julia scoffed. "Honey, kindness doesn't come with old memories and emotional baggage." Emma laughed weakly, but there was no humor in it. She wanted to believe Daniel's intentions were pure. She really did. But a small, unshakable voice inside her whispered, "People don't invite their exes into their happy homes without a reason." A few days later, the preparations for Christmas were in full swing. Emma decorated the house, trying to keep her mind off the tension brewing beneath her calm smile. Daniel seemed distant lately, distracted. He'd been taking extra phone calls, stepping out into the porch late at night. Every time Emma asked, he said, "Just work." But Emma noticed things. She always did. The way his voice softened when he spoke on the phone. The way he smiled faintly afterward. IT wasn't work. IT was something else. On December 24th, the night before Christmas, Emma stood in front of the mirror in her red velvet dress. Her reflection looked beautiful, but her eyes told another story, quiet pain and doubt. Daniel walked in, adjusting his tie. "You look amazing," he said softly. Thanks, she replied, forcing a smile. The doorbell rang. Emma's heart skipped a beat. When Daniel opened the door, a tall blonde woman stood there, wrapped in a cream coat, holding a box of wine and cookies. Her smile was warm, too warm. "Hi, Daniel," she said softly. "It's been a while." He smiled back. "Yeah, it has." Emma stood by the staircase, watching. Her pulse quickened. "So this is Claire." Claire looked around the house with admiration. "You've made it so beautiful. It's everything I always imagined you'd have." Emma stepped forward, extending a polite smile. "Welcome, Claire."
Come in.
Their eyes met. Two women connected by one man, one past, one present. Behind their smiles, a storm quietly began to brew. Dinner was tense but civil. Claire laughed at Daniel's old jokes, remembered his favorite foods, even complimented Emma's cooking. "You're amazing, Emma. Daniel always said you were perfect in the kitchen." Emma smiled through gritted teeth. Every word from Claire was a needle, gentle but deliberate. When Daniel went to grab dessert from the kitchen, Claire leaned closer to Emma and whispered, "You're lucky, you know. He's a good man." "Sometimes I still wonder what if things had been different." Emma froze. The words hit harder than a slap. Claire's eyes sparkled with something between nostalgia and challenge. Before Emma could respond, Daniel returned, smiling, completely unaware of the fire he had lit. That night, after everyone left, Emma walked outside into the snow. Her hands trembled, not from the cold, but from everything she'd held back. She looked up at the glowing windows of her own home and whispered, "Something's not right." Never let someone from the past test the peace of your present. When love invites doubt to the table, silence can speak louder than trust. Would you like me to start writing part 2? Next 5,000 plus words, where Emma starts uncovering the truth about Daniel and Claire's connection, leading to shocking twists at Christmas night. Here's part 1 written in a clean, ready for voiceover style that fits Voices of Auntie Mae's tone and keeps the story set in the USA. The first snow of December brushed the rooftops of Maple Heights, turning the town into a postcard. Inside a modest white brick house, Emma Williams hummed to a Christmas playlist while rolling out pie dough. Her kitchen smelled of cinnamon and brown sugar, the scent of every good memory she and her husband Daniel had built over 8 years of marriage. Christmas was her favorite rhythm of the year. Predictable, cozy, safe. At 7 p.m. The front door creaked open. Daniel stepped in, dusted with snow, his expression oddly careful. "Hey, sweetheart," he said. "Can we talk for a sec?" Emma wiped her hands on her red apron.
Sure.
Did the tree lot run out again? He hesitated.
No.
Claire's coming to Christmas dinner. Silence. Then the clock ticked 1, 2, 3 times. "Claire," Emma repeated, her smile fading. "As in your ex-fiancé, Claire?" Daniel nodded quickly. "She's back in town. Her mom died last month. She doesn't have family here anymore. I thought it'd be kind to invite her." "Kind," Emma said, folding her arms. "You invited your ex to our Christmas dinner, and you're telling me now?" It's just dinner. She's been through hell. You've got the biggest heart I know." Emma turned away so he wouldn't see her eyes sting. Sometimes hearts break because they're too big, Daniel. That night, she couldn't sleep. The tree lights blinked softly in the dark, but the warmth she usually felt around them had drained away. The next morning, Emma called her older sister, Julia. "He what?" Julia shouted through the phone. "Girl, if my husband tried that, his ex would be sharing Christmas dinner with the paramedics." Emma laughed weakly. "He says it's about compassion." "Compassion?" Julia snorted. "That's not compassion. That's confusion." Still, Emma wanted to believe Daniel meant no harm. After all, he'd never given her a real reason to doubt him until now. The house filled with decorations and denial. Daniel hung lights outside, whistling. Emma baked cookies she didn't want to eat. Yet she noticed things. The way he smiled at texts, how he stepped onto the porch to take calls that couldn't wait. When she asked, he said, "Just work." But the smile he gave afterward didn't belong to work. Emma slipped into her velvet dress, staring at her reflection. Her curls framed her face perfectly, but the woman in the mirror looked uncertain. Daniel entered in his gray suit. "You look incredible," he said, trying to sound normal. The doorbell rang, and there she was, Claire, tall, graceful, wrapped in a cream coat, carrying wine and cookies. "Hi, Daniel," she said softly. "It's been a while." Emma's chest tightened as she stepped forward. "Welcome, Claire."
Come in.
Claire looked around. "This house is beautiful. It's everything I pictured you having someday." Emma forced a polite smile. "Thank you. We're proud of it." Conversations sparkled like fragile glass. Claire laughed at Daniel's old stories. She remembered his favorite dish, praised Emma's cooking, and then, while Daniel fetched dessert, leaned closer. "You're lucky," she whispered. "He's a good man." "Sometimes I still wonder what if things had been different." Emma froze. "Different." Claire smiled sweetly. "Relax. I mean, if we'd worked out. But I'm happy for you." When Daniel returned, he noticed nothing. Not Emma's clenched jaw, not the air thick enough to cut with a knife. Later that night, Emma stepped outside. Snowflakes landed on her bare hands and melted instantly. Behind her, laughter from the neighborhood drifted through the cold. She stared at the soft glow of her living room window, the place that had always felt safe, and whispered, "Something's not right." Snow still lined the sidewalks the morning after Christmas Eve. The world outside looked peaceful, blanketed in white, but inside Emma's chest, a storm was brewing. Daniel hummed softly in the kitchen, pouring coffee as if nothing had happened. He looked too calm, too normal. Emma watched him from the dining table, her fingers tracing the rim of her mug. "Sleep okay?" he asked. "Yeah," she lied. Her smile was steady, but her heart wasn't. Last night's whisper from Claire replayed in her head. "Sometimes I still wonder what if things had been different." That sentence clung to her like perfume she couldn't wash off. The uneasy morning Daniel reached across the counter and handed her a cup of coffee. "We should go see your mom later. She'll kill us if we skip." Emma nodded.
Sure.
"But before that, can we talk about something?" He glanced up. "What's up?" She hesitated. "Do I sound paranoid? Am I overthinking this?" "About Claire," she said finally. "Why did she really come last night?" Daniel frowned. "Emma, we already talked about this. She's alone." "I know," Emma replied quietly. "But did you know she'd say things like, 'What if things had been different?'" He looked startled. "She said that?"
Yes.
"To my face." Daniel exhaled sharply. "That's not okay. I'm sorry she made you uncomfortable. I'll talk to her." "Talk to her?" Emma repeated. "So you've been in contact with her already?" He froze for half a second, just long enough for her to notice. "I mean, she called a few days ago," he said, "to ask if I was still in town." Emma leaned back. "And you didn't mention that?" "I didn't think it mattered," he said, his tone tightening. "I told you I invited her out of kindness. Don't make it something it's not." But Emma knew that tone. Defensive, clipped, guilty. The tone people use when they've already crossed a line. A voice in the dark that evening. Daniel went to his friend Marcus's house for a quick drink. Emma watched his car disappear down the snowy road, then exhaled shakily. She grabbed her phone, opened her laptop, and began searching. She wasn't a jealous wife by nature, but when the ground under your feet starts to tremble, instinct makes you look for the cracks. She found Claire's Facebook profile easily. Public photos, smiling at a cafe 2 towns over. Same cream coat she'd worn last night. And then Emma saw it, a post from 3 days before Christmas. Sometimes the universe brings people back into your life when you least expect it. Feels like fate. No tag. No names. Just a snowflake emoji. Emma's stomach twisted. She scrolled further. One comment from Daniel. Just a heart, not a like. Not a thumbs up, a heart. She closed the laptop before the tears spilled. "Sister's warning, Julia." Emma said into the phone, her voice trembling. "He's lying to me." Julia's tone hardened instantly. "What happened?" Emma explained everything. The post, the heart, the whisper. Julia didn't even pause. "Emma, this is not okay. You can't let him make you the fool. If she's back, she's not just here for closure." "I don't know what to do," Emma whispered. "Part of me wants to believe him, but my gut is right." Julia cut in. "Don't ignore it. A visit from the past 2 days later. The doorbell rang. Emma was alone, folding laundry. She opened the door and froze. It was Claire. "Hi," Claire said, smiling like they were old friends. "I know this is weird, but Daniel left his scarf at my place after he stopped by yesterday." Emma's hands went cold. "He what?" Claire held up the scarf. "Yeah, he dropped it when he came to check on me." "Sweet of him, really." "I told him he didn't have to, but he insisted." Emma felt the world tilt slightly. "You saw him yesterday?" Claire nodded, her expression perfectly innocent. "Oh, you didn't know?" "Sorry, I assumed." "No," Emma said slowly. "I didn't know." For a moment they stood there, two women, one smiling and one breaking. "Anyway," Claire said softly, "I hope you're not upset. He just wanted to make sure I was okay. He's still got that big heart." Then she turned and walked away, leaving Emma with a scarf and 1,000 questions that burned like iced confrontation. When Daniel came home that night, Emma didn't wait. She held up the scarf. "She dropped this off."
He froze at the doorway.
"Claire? Don't act surprised," Emma said sharply. "She told me you visited her." His shoulders stiffened. "Emma, why didn't you tell me?" He hesitated. "I didn't think it was a big deal. She called. She sounded upset and you went to her house." Her voice cracked. "On Christmas week." Daniel rubbed his temples. "She lost her mom, she was crying. I just wanted to make sure she was okay. She has friends, therapists, a phone." Emma's eyes flashed with hurt. "You chose her over us." "It wasn't like that." "Then what was it like?" she whispered. "Because from where I'm standing, it looks a lot like betrayal dressed up as sympathy." He looked at her, really looked, and for the first time, there was no defense in his eyes. "Just guilt." "I'm sorry," he said softly. "You're right. I should have told you. It was stupid." "Stupid," Emma repeated. "That's one word for it." The breaking point. The days that followed were cold in more ways than one. They spoke when necessary, polite words, empty smiles. Emma went through the motions, decorating, baking, pretending. But every time Daniel's phone buzzed, her chest tightened. On New Year's Eve, while he showered, she finally gave in to the ache. She picked up his phone. No password. Maybe he trusted her too much. And his messages. She saw it. "Claire, thanks for yesterday. You always knew how to make me feel safe." Daniel's reply. "You needed someone. I couldn't turn my back." Emma dropped the phone onto the bed, shaking. The snow outside had started again. But now, even the softest flakes felt sharp. A quiet decision that night. Emma stood by the window long after Daniel fell asleep. She looked at the glowing Christmas tree, the one they'd decorated together, and realized something painful yet freeing. She couldn't change his choices, but she could choose how her story continued. She walked to the closet, pulled out her suitcase, and began folding clothes. Not angrily,
Calmly.
purposefully. When Daniel woke the next morning, the suitcase was by the door and Emma was sitting on the couch with a cup of coffee. What's going on?" he asked, his voice trembling. "I'm leaving for a while," she said. "I need to remember who I am when I'm not doubting every word you say." He moved toward her. "Please don't. I love you." She nodded sadly. "Then you should have protected that love better." And with that, she walked out into the cold, not knowing where she was going, only that she couldn't stay. The suitcase wheels made a soft crackling sound against the snow. Emma's breath came out in short, visible clouds as she walked toward her car, heart pounding, vision blurred by tears she'd refused to shed inside the house. The morning sun reflected off the white ground, painfully bright, as if mocking the darkness inside her. She paused at the car door, one hand trembling on the handle. Behind her, Daniel stood on the porch, coat half-buttoned, eyes wide with disbelief. "Emma, please," he called.
Out.
"Don't do this." She didn't turn. "I'm not doing anything, Daniel. You already did." The words cut through the cold air like a blade. She got in the car, started the engine, and drove off, watching the house that once symbolized love shrink smaller and smaller in her rearview mirror. The escape Emma drove for hours, past frozen highways, past silent towns, until the familiar skyline of Portsmouth appeared, the coastal city where her sister Julia lived. When she reached Julia's townhouse, she didn't even make it to the front door before her composure broke. Julia ran out barefoot in a hoodie, wrapping her arms around her. Hey, it's okay," Julia whispered, holding her tight. "You're safe now." Emma buried her face in her sister's shoulder, sobbing silently. "I couldn't stay, Jules. Every time I looked at him, I saw her shadow." Julia nodded, guiding her inside. "Then you did the right thing." The healing begins. The first few days felt like floating in fog. Julia made her coffee, cooked her meals, and never pushed too hard for details. She knew Emma needed time, but on the third night, Emma finally spoke. "I keep wondering if I overreacted," she said softly. "Maybe it wasn't cheating. Maybe it was just compassion gone wrong." Julia frowned. "Emma, listen to me. Cheating isn't just about physical contact. It's about emotional loyalty. If he's giving his comfort to someone else, especially an ex, that's betrayal." Emma nodded, tears filling her eyes again. I thought we were stronger than this." "Sometimes strength isn't staying," Julia said gently. "Sometimes it's walking away before you lose yourself." Messages unread. Daniel texted her every day for a week. "Daniel, I'm sorry, Em. Please come home. Daniel, I didn't mean to hurt you. I swear it wasn't what it looked like. Daniel, Claire's leaving town soon.
We can talk after that.
Please." Emma read them all and responded to none. Her silence was her only defense against the guilt that clawed at her heart. But one message stopped her cold. "Daniel, she's pregnant." Emma's hands shook so violently she nearly dropped the phone. The world seemed to tilt again, the room spinning, her pulse deafening in her ears. She called Julia, voice trembling. "Jules," he said, "Claire's pregnant." Julia was silent for a moment. "Are you sure?" I don't know," Emma said, wiping her tears. "I don't know if it's his or if she's lying, but what if it is?" A visit to the pasta week later, Emma drove back to her old neighborhood, not to see Daniel, but to gather her things she'd told him through a short message. "I'll come when you're at work. Please don't be home." The house felt different now. Quiet. Soulless. The air still carried traces of him. The cologne, the aftershave, the faint scent of burnt toast. She packed slowly. Every photo frame felt like a wound. Then she saw it. An envelope on the dresser, with her name written in Daniel's handwriting. Her hands trembled as she opened it. "Emma, you have every right to hate me. But before you do, please know that I didn't cheat on you. Claire told me she was pregnant, but the baby isn't mine. I found out after you left. I only wanted to help her because she said she had no one. I should have been honest, but I was afraid you'd misunderstand. I already lost your trust before I even lost your love. And now I'm paying the price." "Daniel," Emma sank onto the edge of the bed, reading it twice, 3 times. Her chest ached with confusion, relief,
Pain.
regret. If he was telling the truth, had she left too soon? The truth unfolds days later. Claire's truth came out, not from Daniel, but from social media. A mutual friend posted a photo of Claire with another man, a tall stranger, smiling proudly as she announced, "New beginnings." "Our little miracle is coming soon, 2 hearts." Emma's breath caught in her throat. S.O. Daniel hadn't lied. Julia leaned over her shoulder, reading the caption. "Well, there's your answer. It wasn't his." Emma whispered. "Then why didn't he just tell me from the start?" "Because guilty people act guilty," Julia said. "Even when they're not." A letter never sent that night. Emma sat by the window with a pen and paper, old-fashioned, deliberate. She began writing. "Daniel, when you break something fragile, sometimes you can glue it back together, but it will never be the same. That's how I feel about us. You didn't cheat, but you let someone else into a space that was supposed to be only ours. And that's a kind of betrayal too. Did I still love you? I wish I didn't, but I do. I just don't know if love is enough this time. Emma." She folded the letter and tucked it away in her journal, unsent, because sometimes forgiveness doesn't need an audience. It just needs acknowledgement. The unexpected knock 2 weeks later, on a quiet Sunday morning, someone knocked at Julia's door. Emma, half asleep with a blanket wrapped around her, opened it and froze. It was Daniel. He looked tired, older somehow, eyes heavy with remorse. "Hey," he said softly. "Can we talk?" Julia appeared from the kitchen, ready to intervene, but Emma raised a hand. "It's okay, Jules." They stepped outside onto the porch, breath visible in the cold. Daniel's voice cracked. "I didn't sleep. I didn't eat. I kept thinking, I ruined everything. And the worst part is I didn't even cheat, but it feels like I did." Emma looked at him, really looked, and saw the man she'd built a life with, standing there in broken pieces. "Why didn't you just tell me the truth from the start?" she asked quietly. "Because I didn't want you to see me as weak," he whispered. "I wanted to protect you. I thought I was doing the right thing." She shook her head sadly. "Lies don't protect love, Daniel. They poison it." He nodded slowly, tears forming in his eyes. "I know. And I'll spend the rest of my life proving that I learned that lesson, even if it's too late for us." Emma's heart clenched. Maybe it's not too late to forgive, but it might be too late to go back. He nodded again, accepting the truth like a punishment he knew he deserved. A small beginning. As Daniel walked away, Emma didn't stop him, but for the first time in weeks, she didn't feel anger. She felt something quieter, closure. That night, she opened her journal, took out the unsent letter, and read it one last time before tearing it gently in half. Some stories don't end with reconciliation, some end with growth. And as snow began to fall again, Emma smiled faintly, not because she was healed, but because she had finally started to be. The days grew longer. January sunlight stretched pale and cold across Julia's townhouse, slipping through the curtains and landing on the couch where Emma Williams now lived. Her suitcase still sat in the corner, half unpacked, as if part of her still expected to go back home, though she no longer knew where home was. Each morning she made coffee, watched the snow melt from the balcony, and told herself she was fine. But healing, she was learning, wasn't loud or visible. It was quiet. And it hurt. "Okay," Julia announced one Saturday, slamming the fridge door. "You need to get out of this house." Emma blinked. "I just did. I took the trash out."
"I mean out," Julia said.
"You're not doing yourself any favors sitting here reading sad poetry and watching baking shows. Go breathe. Take a class. Meet people." Emma smiled faintly. "Meet people? Like men?" Julia smirked. "I didn't say that. But hey, if one of them happens to have nice shoulders and a steady job, I won't complain." Emma rolled her eyes, but later that evening, she found herself scrolling through community postings. One ad caught her eye. Local community centers seeking volunteers for art therapy sessions for veterans and seniors. No experience necessary, just empathy. Empathy, she had plenty of. The community center smelled like turpentine and coffee. Emma signed the volunteer sheet, was handed a name badge, and followed the sound of laughter to a wide, sunlit room filled with easels and paint-splattered tables. That's where she met Aaron Miller. He was setting up jars of brushes, sleeves rolled up, a faint scar visible on his forearm, the kind that told a story without words. He looked up, smiled easily. "You must be the new volunteer." "Guilty," Emma said.
"I'm Emma."
"Aaron," he replied, shaking her hand. "I run this chaos." There was something gentle about him, a calm steadiness she hadn't felt around anyone in months. That first week, Emma helped elderly residents paint winter scenes. She wasn't much of an artist, but the brush in her hand felt liberating. Each stroke was like releasing something she'd been holding too tightly. Aaron moved through the room, guiding hands, offering encouragement. When he stopped beside her, she felt a strange flutter in her chest. "You're overthinking it," he said, watching her. "Hesitate with the brush. Paint how you feel, not what you see." Emma laughed softly. "If I did that, the canvas would just be a storm cloud." He smiled. "Storms make beautiful skies too." For the first time in weeks, Emma smiled without effort. That night, as she drove home, her phone buzzed. Daniel, her stomach twisted. She hadn't heard from him in nearly a month. "Daniel, I'm moving out of the house. Thought you should know. Daniel, I'm giving you half of everything. You deserve it." Emma stared at the screen, emotions swirling, relief, grief, guilt. She typed back, "Emma, thank you. I hope you find peace." And she meant it. For both of them, when she reached Julia's driveway, she sat in the car for a long time, watching snow fall through the windshield. It didn't hurt as sharply anymore. The ache was softer, manageable, like a scar that no longer bled. Over the following weeks, Emma kept volunteering. Aaron became a familiar comfort, always with a paint-stained shirt and coffee mug in hand, always asking, "How's your storm today?" He rarely talked about himself, but the small details came out slowly. He'd been an army medic, lost a friend overseas, came home to an empty apartment, and a need to help others heal point one afternoon. While cleaning brushes, Emma asked, "Why art therapy?" Aaron looked at her, his expression thoughtful, because pain needs color. Otherwise, it stays invisible. Something in his words struck deep. They were both trying to give their invisible wounds a shape. Mid-February, the center held a charity dinner. Emma almost declined, but Aaron insisted. "Come on," he said. "It's just food and awkward small talk. I'll even save you a seat by the dessert table." He kept his promise. They talked for hours, not about love or loss, but music, travel, favorite pies. When she laughed, Aaron looked almost surprised, like he hadn't realized until that moment how beautiful her laughter sounded. As the night ended, he walked her to her car. Snow drifted lightly again, echoing that morning she'd left Daniel, but this time, it didn't feel cold. "Thanks for tonight," Emma said softly. "Anytime," he replied. "You deserve nights that don't hurt." A few weeks later, a letter arrived at Julia's, Daniel's handwriting again. "Emma, I'm moving to Seattle for a new job. Claire's gone, married to someone else. You were right, lies poison love. I've learned that the hardest way. You don't owe me forgiveness. I just wanted to say thank you, because losing you forced me to become the man I should have been when I had you. Daniel." Emma folded the letter carefully and placed it in her drawer, not out of nostalgia, but respect. He was her past. Aaron was her present. Though she wasn't sure what label fit them yet. Point one evening, after class, the power went out in the center. Candles flickered. Laughter filled the room as everyone gathered near the windows. Aaron sat beside her, brushing paint off his fingers. "Funny how the dark doesn't feel scary when you're not alone," he said. Emma looked at him, really looked, and realized she hadn't felt alone for a while now. Without thinking, she reached out and covered his paint-stained hand with hers. Neither of them spoke. They didn't need to. Sometimes connection doesn't announce itself. It just quietly happens. Julia noticed the change immediately. "You've got color in your cheeks again," she teased. "Either you're in love, or the heater's finally working." Emma laughed. "I don't know if it's love. It's peace. And that's new." Julia nodded proudly. "That's better than love. That's healing." By March, Emma had moved into her own small apartment near the center. She hung her own art on the walls, imperfect, abstract, messy, like life itself. Aaron helped her carry boxes. As they set the last one down, he said quietly, "You know, new beginnings are scary, but they're still beginnings." Emma smiled, feeling the truth settle gently inside her. For the first time since everything fell apart, she felt grounded, not by someone else's promises, but by her own strength. The following winter, snow returned to the city, gentle, steady, unbothered by the chaos of human hearts. For Emma Williams, it had been a year since the dinner that changed everything, a year since she watched her marriage crumble over turkey and betrayal. Now, she stood by her apartment window, watching the same snow fall, but this time with peace in her chest instead of ache. She sipped her coffee and smiled faintly. Life was quieter, but also fuller. The life she built, the art therapy program, had expanded. Aaron and Emma now co-led sessions, teaching not just veterans, but anyone seeking to heal through color and creation. Every day, people walked into that room with invisible scars, and every day, they left a little lighter. And while Emma still had nights when memories of Daniel flickered like old film reels, she no longer feared them. They were just stories now. Closed chapters she could finally shelve without crying. Aaron's confession. It was a Friday evening in December, after the last art class before Christmas break. The center was quiet. Only the sound of brushes being rinsed echoed through the room. Aaron walked over, drying his hands on a towel. He looked nervous, a rare sight. "Hey," he said softly. "Can I ask you something?" Emma smiled. "You just did. But go ahead." He chuckled, shaking his head. "A year ago, you walked into this room carrying more pain than you should have had to bear. I didn't know how to help you then. I just knew I wanted to." Emma blinked, her heart already racing. Aaron took a deep breath. "I don't want to rush you. I just want to say, if there's ever a world where you're ready to let someone in again, I'd like to be the one standing at the door." The silence that followed wasn't awkward. It was warm. Emma's eyes glistened. She reached out and squeezed his hand. "I think," she said softly, "that door might already be open." Aaron smiled, a small, real, unpolished smile. The kind of smile that doesn't promise a fairy tale, but something better. Truth. The unexpected visitor 2 days before Christmas. Emma was closing up the art center when the door creaked open. A man stepped in, bundled in a coat, holding a letter. Her heart skipped. "Daniel?" He looked older, tired, but calmer somehow. "I hope it's okay I came by," he said. "I didn't mean to intrude." Emma hesitated, then nodded. "Of course. What brings you here?" He handed her the envelope. "It's a letter. From my mom." "Your mom?" Daniel nodded, smiling faintly. "She passed away last month. She left this for you. Said she wanted me to deliver it myself." Emma's eyes softened. "I'm so sorry, Daniel." He shook his head. "She always said you were the daughter she never had. I think she wanted to say goodbye." The letter when Daniel left, Emma sat in the quiet room and opened the letter carefully. The handwriting was delicate, looping, familiar. "My dear Emma, if you're reading this, I've gone to where hearts don't break anymore. I want you to know that none of what happened between you and Daniel erased the love you gave this family. You taught my son what kindness looks like. Even if he learned it too late, don't let betrayal close your heart. The world needs your gentleness, and you deserve someone who mirrors it. Love doesn't die, Emma. It just changes hands. Merry Christmas, my dear." Margaret Williams. Tears streamed down Emma's face. Not of pain, but release. It was the closure she didn't know she needed. She folded the letter carefully, placed it in her purse, and stepped out into the snow. Somewhere above her, she imagined Margaret smiling, a Christmas that felt right that Christmas Eve. Emma hosted dinner at her small apartment. Just Julia, a few art center friends, and Aaron. Laughter filled the air. Candles glowed. There was no tension, no secrets. Just warmth. One point. Julia raised a glass. "To second chances," she said. "And to Emma, for showing us that even when life breaks your heart, you can still paint it whole again." Everyone clapped, and Emma felt tears in her eyes again. This time, she didn't hide them. Later that night, after everyone had gone, Aaron lingered by the door. Snow swirled outside, like a soft replay of last year. Except everything was different now. "Emma," he said, "can I ask for something small for Christmas?" She smiled. "Depends how small." He stepped closer, gently brushing a stray hair from her face. "A chance," he whispered. She looked up at him, her eyes reflecting the glow of the tree lights. "You already have it," she whispered back, and when he kissed her, slow, careful, honest, the world outside seemed to fade into a quiet, forgiving peace. A year later, the art center expanded into a new wing, the Margaret Williams Studio for Healing Arts. Emma and Aaron cut the ribbon together, surrounded by laughter and applause. Daniel, now remarried in another state, sent flowers with a small note. "Thank you for helping me grow. I wish you all the love you once gave me." Emma smiled when she read it, a final goodbye that didn't hurt anymore. Life had finally balance, and grand endings, no dramatic returns, just real people choosing kindness after pain. Glowing star moral of the story: sometimes life breaks us not to end us, but to rebuild us stronger. Forgiveness isn't about letting others off the hook. It's about freeing your own heart. When you choose peace, you don't just heal. You teach the world how love can begin again, even after everything burns. The Yendi Dizzy.